Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please be seated. I'm going to do my best to do something that is practically impossible for me, and that is to be as brief as possible. I would like to start with a wonderful invitation to our veterans, actually two of them. One of them is immediately after this, if you wish to eat lunch with your grandchild, children, great-grandchild, family member, you're welcome to join us in the Sherman High School cafeteria. We would love to have you as our guest today if you're a veteran. And we are having taco bar. It's not Tuesday, but it's Taco Tuesday at Sherman High School, so you're more than welcome to attend. Also, though, at 1 o'clock in the great town of Whitesville, there's a dinner sponsored by Whitesville State Bank and the Dog Patch Barbecue. Dog Patch Barbecue is owned by Alan Nichols of Sylvester, West Virginia. Alan is a decorated Vietnam veteran, travels all across the country assisting in major disasters to help feed those communities in need of assistance. He also participates across the nation in barbecue competitions and has won a variety of awards for his barbecue cooking skills. So veterans, this is free. If you wish to go to Whitesville today, go to Whitesville State Bank and enjoy a great barbecue cookout. This gentleman has stepped up, and out of love for you and our nation, he's extending this wonderful opportunity. Students, I do ask today, and I just know this is going to occur, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Ask today, when somebody speaks, you sit up, you listen, you be respectful of what's being paid tribute to today, and that is the service and the sacrifice of men and women who pay very dearly for everything that our nation has and ever will have, is because of the sacrifice they've made in their lives. Many, many years ago, I, along with hundreds, thousands, and millions of young people all around this nation, at different times in our country's history, raised my right hand, and I swore to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. I didn't swear to defend the king. I didn't swear to defend a religious faith, even though I have faith. I didn't swear to defend a dictator. I swore to defend the ideals that our nation was based on. And at 18 years old, I still didn't understand all of those ideals. I just knew I lived in a great country and had great parents and come from a great community. And I wanted to do whatever I could to support that. Today, all around this world, people look to this country as a symbol of hope. We are simultaneously the most hated country on earth and the most loved country on earth. For all those who wish to strip and steal power from people, we are hated. For all those who want to oppress and crush, we are hated. For all those who wish to deny the basic human freedoms and human rights that all men are created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There are those who would strip that, crush that, steal that, murder that, take that from you today if it wasn't for some man or woman putting on a uniform and willing to go in harm's way, that you and your family and this country could enjoy the fruit of their sacrifice. And we're loved because in many countries today, the only hope they have is that someone from America will speak up and say, this is wrong. The greatest words spoken, heard, uttered, shared, is when somebody hears the words, the United States of America is coming to help. Because they know behind that guarantee is a people committed to freedom. We are not a perfect nation. We never have been. We strive, I think the term is to build a more better union. It's a work in progress. A little while back, I threw my remote control of my television, and I didn't know whether to vomit or curse as I saw people walking down the streets of this nation chanting death to America. I totally respect people's rights to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble. Even if I disagree with you, even if I hate everything you say, someone paid a price for you to say it. But don't lie in my face and say you love this country and at the same breath say death to America. You know what death to America means? Death for any chance of freedom. Death for any chance of prosperity. Death for any chance of your right to worship or not worship your God. Death to America simply means all that we hold true dies. So for the veterans today who are here, thank you. Because you swore an oath to defend life. And the old saying is true. All gave some, but some gave all. Thank you so much for your service. And I would like to thank the young people here today. Only a small percentage of you may actually join the United States military, and that's fine. Even anybody that's ever served in the military would say, not everybody should join the military. But we can all be supportive of the men and women who stand on a wall somewhere unthanked, unappreciated, but absolutely a hero, so that we can sit here this morning and appreciate the freedom that this country gives us. To all the young people listening and for all the young people participating, for their teachers who made this possible, thank you, thank you, thank you so very much. Now I'm going to turn it over to Miss Carly Tony, President of the Sherman High School Student Body, who's our Master of Ceremonies today. Carly.
Thank you, Mr. Barnett. Brantley Barnes, President of the Student Council at Sherman Junior High School, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you please join with me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the flag of the national anthem by Walter Chapman, an 11th grade student at Sherman High.
Originally, this day was known as Armistice Day, which commemorated the end of World War I on the 11th day of the 11th month and the 11th hour. Today, it has been transformed into a day of remembrance for all veterans. We meet here to pay tribute to our veterans, men and women, who have sacrificed their time and lives both in war and peace. that we may have the right to assemble together as free people. Therefore, we, the students of Sherman Junior and Sherman Senior High Schools, dedicate this program to our veterans. A few years ago, Jocelyn Cooper, a Sherman High School class of 2018, revised a poem entitled "What is a Veteran?" to make it a personal reflection for her and for West Virginia. So in honor of this U.S. Air Force Academy graduate, we would like to offer Air Force First Lieutenant Jocelyn Cooper's version of the poem.
A veteran is a brother who kissed his siblings goodbye in July of 1914. He is going to Europe to begin fighting in the First World War. As his siblings and mother fade out of view, a tear begins streaming down his face, knowing that this could possibly be the last time he saw them.
A veteran is the husband who had to leave his wife, who would become a Rosie the Riveter while he is moving cautiously through the rugged and uneasy Japanese terrain. His wife is working in a factory.
A veteran is the grandfather recalling the waters of Vietnam to his family. He doesn't dare tell them that the water haunts him to this day. He has told many stories over the years, but this one is his favorite. Every time the family is together, he tells it. And every time, at the same exact part, he closes his eyes out of respect for his fallen friend. He chokes back the tears and continues the story.
A veteran is the uncle who took a bullet in the knee while serving in Korea. He still walks with a slight limp, yet he has never walked so proudly. He goes to the doctor once every 3 months to get an x-ray. It is still there. He has another problem, one you can't see by watching him walk. He wakes up in the middle of the night, sweating after dreaming about the orange-tinted skies that no one should ever have to see.
A veteran is the mother who writes a letter to year-old daughter every night of the Gulf War. She wept silently after receiving a picture of her son from his first day of second grade. She then folded the picture and stuck it in her pocket closest to her heart. Back at home, her son is bragging to his friends about how his mommy is a hero.
A veteran is the father who told his toddler-aged daughter that he would be back home soon. He is going to Kuwait to be part of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Before he leaves, his daughter hands him her favorite blanket and says it will protect him. She misses him so much she develops a stuttering problem. There is nothing he can do. He holds the blanket to his heart every night and thinks upon him.
A veteran has a sense of pride that no other possesses. They stand at attention instinctively. She always stops to salute the rising flag. He can fold a flag and tell you what each fold symbolizes easier than he can make a phone call. He makes sure his children know the cost of freedom. She makes sure her children have the utmost respect for others in their country. He is always prepared. She wears an armband that bears the stars and stripes. Veterans, they are the heart of America.
There is something even more special about a West Virginia veteran, though. West Virginia, though having one of the smallest populations, has had numerous sons and daughters to answer Uncle Sam's call. Currently, the veteran population of West Virginia is 10.22%, which is higher than the nation. Over the past 100 years, the total number of soldiers from West Virginia sent overseas to all major wars numbers over 425,000. Out of these soldiers, over 12,000 will never see the rolling hills and country roads of West Virginia ever again.
Thank you. Next up, several students from both schools will read excerpts from President George W. Bush's remarks at the Veterans Day National Ceremony held in Arlington National Cemetery on November 11, 2004.
As Commander-in-Chief
Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, presides over the National Commemoration of Veterans Day. Each year, Arlington National Cemetery hosts this event. Here are the words from President Bush. Veterans Day is set aside to remember every man and woman who has taken up arms to defend our country. We honor every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, and Coast Guard who gave some of the best years of their lives to the service of the United States and stood ready to give life itself on our behalf. 25 million military veterans walk among us, and on this day, our nation thanks them all. These are the hidden heroes of a peaceful nation, our colleagues and friends, neighbors and family members who answered the call and returned to live the land they defended.
Our veterans are drawn from several generations and many backgrounds. They're Americans who remember the swift conflict of the Persian Gulf War and a long Cold War vigil, the heat of Vietnam and the bitter cold of Korea. They are veterans in their 80s who served under MacArthur and Eisenhower and saved the liberty of the world. And still with us in the year 2004 are a few dozen Americans who fought the Kaiser's army and celebrated the end of the Great War on this day in 1918. The last doughboys are all more than 100 years old. Our nation will always be proud of their service.
Some of our veterans are young men and women with recent memories of battle in mountains and deserts. In Afghanistan, these brave Americans helped sweep away a vicious tyranny allied with terror and prepared the way for a free people to elect its own leaders. In Iraq, our men and women fought a ruthless enemy of America, setting the people free from a tyrant who now sits in a prison cell. All who have served in this cause are liberators in the best tradition of America. Their actions have made our nation safer in a world full of new dangers. Their actions have also upheld the ideals of America founding, which defines us still. Our nation values freedom not just for ourselves but for all because Americans are willing to serve and sacrifice for this cause. Our nation remains the greatest force for good among all the nations on the earth.
Our men and women in the military have superb training and the best equipment and able commanders. And they have another great advantage. They have the example of American veterans who came before. From the very day George Washington took command, the uniform of the United States has always stood for courage and decency, and the shining hope in a world of darkness. And all who have worn that uniform have won the thanks of the American people. Today, we're thinking of our fellow Americans last seen on duty, whose fate is still undetermined. We will not rest until we have made the fullest possible accounting for every life.
Today we also recall the men and women who did not live to be called veterans, many of whom rest in these hills. Our veterans remember the faces and voices of fallen comrades. The families of the lost carry a burden of grief that time will lighten but never lift. Our whole nation honors every patriot who placed duty and country before their own lives. They gave us every day that we live in freedom. The security of America depends on our active leadership in the world to oppose emerging threats and to spread freedom that leads to the peace we all want. And our leadership ultimately depends on the commitment and character of the armed forces. America has needed these qualities in every generation, and every generation has stepped forward to provide them. What veterans have given our country is beyond our power to fully repay, yet today we recognize our debt to their honor, and on this national holiday, our hearts are filled with respect and gratitude for the veterans of the United States of America.
Flowers will share the esteemed words of the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here and consecrated it. Far above our poor power to add or detract, the world will little know, nor long remember what we say here. But it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here for us so far nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Thank you, Addison, Dawson, Mila, John, Addie, and Sadie. Dana Farrell, a senior, and Kira Stewart, a junior at Sherman High School, will read for us the poem, Take a Moment to Thank a Veteran.
When you see someone in a uniform, someone who serves us all, doing military duty, answering their country's call, take a moment to thank them for protecting what you hold dear. Tell them you're proud of them, make it very clear. Just tap them on the shoulder, just smile at them and say, thanks for what you're doing to keep us safe in the USA.
Thank you, Dana and Kira, for sharing that wonderful poem. Each year, the Veterans of Foreign Wars sponsors a Patriots Pen Essay Contest, which is open to students that are enrolled in public, private, or parochial schools or homesteading programs in the United States and its territories. The themes for this year's contest was, how do I show patriotism and support for our country? And this year, we had 2 entries selected for today's program. Oliver Hudson, a 7th grade student, will read his essay entry.
How do I sow patriotism to this country? I sow patriotism by displaying off the great progress America has made over the years and showing my love and care for its land. When the founding fathers created this country back in 1776, they were creating a land of freedom. When this country was first founded, only 13 states were in the Union. It was a small country. Nowadays, we're the leader of the free world. On mornings I wake up, I am reminded on how we live in a country that gives rights to all, and I'm thankful for that. When I go to school, American flags are flown on every place I see. They are showing love to their country. At school, the Pledge of Allegiance is said for their combat patriotism around the school. At baseball games, men, women, and children stand up to listen to the national anthem. If it is, it says the flag waves of the clear skies. On July 4th, people across the country watch fireworks light up in the night sky as we remember the day that would officially mark the beginning of the U.S. We are also thankful for our presidents who we have voted for to and lead the free world for almost 250 years. From George Washington to Donald Trump, they have been helping us lead the U.S. when the U.S. was just recently independent to the modern day. And today, every American is granted the right to vote. On Memorial Veterans Day, we honor more of the most brave soldiers who have helped free the people in recent years. From the beaches of Normandy to the forests of Vietnam to the deserts of Iraq and to the mountains of Afghanistan. We may not always win some wars, but we will always try to end all sorts of dangers across the world. In conclusion, America has been led with freedom, bravery, democracy all over the nation. From the Gold Coast of California to the New York skylines, people are not afraid to express their love for this country. We might face for some hard times. Some may be small, others may be tragic, but we are unified as one and can work together to fix those issues. And like always, I will always be proud to be a citizen of the USA.
The second entry being read is by Caroline Mooney, who is also a 7th grader.
Showing patriotism is important. It shows you love your country and support it. You need to show love for your country and support towards it. You should be proud of where you live, and you should show you are proud too. I'll show patriotism by respecting soldiers and veterans serving this country. I say, thank you for your service when I see a soldier or veteran. I send thank you cards to veterans and care packages to those in combat. I also support military funding and help raise money for them. I visit battle sites and honor those fallen soldiers who gave up their lives to protect my country. I also show patriotism when patriotic holidays come around, celebrating and remembering why they're so important. I celebrate by hanging out with my family and talking with others about the holidays. I decorate my house in patriotic colors and use decorations that are red, white, and blue. I will also ask about the holidays and learn more about them. There are even things on TV to watch about the holidays to learn more about them. Finally, I show patriotism by respecting the flag. I say the Pledge of Allegiance every day. I also stand every time I hear the national anthem, and I do not sit down until the anthem is over. I also respect the flag by not dropping it or letting it drag on the ground. I also fold the flag into 13 folds, and I know which one of them stands for. I fly the flag and act carefully to take it down from its fold. I fly the flag proudly to show how proud I am to be living in my amazing country that is the United States of America. In conclusion, you can show patriotism in many ways, including being a good citizen, voting, and supporting the president. Showing patriotism is not hard to do, but it means a lot.
The last entry to be read is from Chloe Selby, an 11th grader.
How are you showing patriotism and support for our country? What is patriotism? What does it mean to be patriotic? When our beloved country, America, is in danger, we stand and fight for her. We do whatever we can to defend our freedom. We wear red, white, and blue and decorate our house on holidays. Well, what do we do for the fallen soldiers? Do we ever take time to stop and listen to veterans we see in public? Now in our generation, it is rare for someone to say a common saying to a veteran in public, thank you for your service. Showing patriotism and support in my life is very important to me. There are so many men and women who have given their life for us in our country, and they have made continuous sacrifices for everyone. That is something that deserves respect and honor. In my life, there are a few small things I do to show patriotism, such as standing for the Pledge of Allegiance with our hand over our heart, or honoring honest fallen soldiers on Memorial Day and the 4th of July. I think whether we know it or not, everyone shows respect in small ways. Some bigger ways to show patriotism in my life is being part of AmeriCorps. In AmeriCorps, we devote ourselves and our time to improve our community and even our country. We embody a form of service-oriented citizenship. We focus on action and sacrifice rather than symbolism. with our members who serve to strengthen our nation from within. We support veterans and military families. We partner with organizations to provide service and new opportunities for them. This honors those who have served and helps them transition into civilian life. Other than the AmeriCorps program, I'm devoting myself this school year to earn as many service hours as possible, whether it is serving our veterans and elderly or helping others with family basic needs. I have a heart for serving our country, and this is how I'm able to give back to our country. How will you give back? Too many people are born into this freedom we have today and don't know what it took to get it. When they see all the flags on the ground near a school or building, they think it's a decoration. But what they really don't know is that it's a memorial to all the soldiers who gave their lives for us and our country. And that is why we have the freedom we do today. Some people get patriotism and nationalism confused. A patriot is someone who's proud of our country and sees how it can improve, while a nationalist is proud of our country no matter what it does. While everyone has their own opinion on politics or who our president is, we should still recognize how we can improve. Our improvement in our country does not rely on our parents or our grandparents or even who our president is. It relies on our youth like you and me. We are the hope of the country's tomorrow. We must visualize what improvements our countries can make. In conclusion, our country's hope for tomorrow is in our hands. We should take advice from our elders, especially those who have served our country, and use it to make America great again. So the veterans who served can relax and enjoy the rest of their lives. I will continue to give back to my country and show patriotism all throughout my life.
Thank you, Oliver, Caroline, and Chloe for sharing your essays. David Chambers, an 8th grade student at Sherman Junior High School, is sharing a personal perspective of a family member that is left behind during deployment. He is accompanied by his brother, Brian.
My name is David Easton,
And I'm Brian Easton.
and Ms. Meadows suggested we speak at today's Veterans Day ceremony to tell you about our mom. Our mother is Andrea Easton. She graduated from Sherman in 2011. Enlisting in the military was one of her dreams from way back, but instead she got sidetracked by me and my little brothers. For the past couple of years, she has had trouble finding a good job. She has had trouble finding a good job she likes here in West Virginia. So her and my dad came up with an idea to fulfill her dream and find a job at the same time. She joined the Army National Guard one more year. She joined the Army National Guard one more year, and she would have been too old to join the National Guard. But she decided to go for it this past summer. She left in June for basic training, which she graduated from a couple weeks ago. We got to go down to South Carolina for graduation, and it was so great to see her again. It's hard to live without your mom for several months. Now that she's graduated from basic, she is transferred to AIT in Texas. She's going to be a combat medic specialist, and we'll get to see her at Christmas. The sacrifices my mom, my dad, my brothers, and I have gone through during these months, and the ones to come, mirror the sacrifices that veterans' families have all gone through. At least we know she is not at risk of losing her life every day. Think of all the families who lived and continue to live through weeks and months of uncertainty as their loved ones fight in wars all over the globe. Thank you to all these veterans who are sitting here today, who have struggled and suffered to do the job of serving their country. And their families have too, being away from each other during training or deployments. Thank you for letting us share our story with you today, and please pray for my dad and my mom. We are so proud of her following her dream to serve her country, that we miss her every day.
Thank you, David and Brian, for sharing. Andrew Pratt, an 8th grade student from Sherman Junior High School, will present a poem entitled, We Owe Them a Lot.
On Veterans Day, we remember again our men and women who served. We honor them now for what they did then, the liberties they preserved. Let's never forget their sacrifice, the hard, heavy work they have done. They did what was asked, crucial needs they fulfilled with a telephone, pencil, or gun. We're happy and proud to honor them. They gave so much more than they got. Our heroes, our veterans, kept the freedom safe. All of us owe them a lot.
Our guest speaker is a Sherman alumnus, class of 2001, Corporal Brandon Miller, enlisted in the Army at the age of 20. He has celebrated momentous milestone birthdays, ages 21 and 23, while serving in Iraq for his first and second combat deployments, respectively. Corporal Miller, a 7-year veteran, was an MP assigned to the 300th MP Company stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas. He is the son of our own Miss Patty Miller.
You'll have to forgive me, I'm not used to holding a microphone or actually speaking to a large crowd because I just try not to. However, the one benefit is when they ask you to do these kind of things, they only ask you once. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Firstly, I'd like to say I appreciate Sherman High School and Sherman Junior High for having a program to honor our veterans here in the community. Secondly, and definitely not less at all, I'd like to take a moment to have our veterans, wherever they are in the crowd, stand for just a moment. Because you are why I am here and why what I did. So if you please stand just to be recognized, I want to extend my appreciation to all of you for what you have done and where you have brought us. Because without you, I wouldn't have taken the chances that I did. If you all would please appreciate our veterans. Thank you. Thank you so much. I decided today that to help hide the bald spot that everyone seems to look at, I would either just wear a hat or be ugly. As you can see, I decided to do both. My jokes are very poor. They're not very consistent, but they're present, so enjoy them as they come. One of the opportunities I'd like to take real quick is I can see some jerseys over here in the crowd. And I want to take a personal moment to congratulate them for going to a battlefield a week ago today. They went, stood among their enemy in their foreign land, and they stood victorious over the ashes of their enemy. So congratulations for your win last week, and please, by all means, we look forward to seeing you again this week. So great job, and thank you. So it is an honor to be here in front of all of you today. Today's remembrance for our veterans. Set aside honor the men and the women who took the time to wear the uniform and to risk the sacrifices to be made. I personally served in the United States Army during Operation Iraqi Freedom. I left Sherman High School, decided to go out into the world for a little while, and then later joined the Army. 2 deployments, and I'm hoping that I can share some experiences today. None of them to glorify any kind of war, but to honor the sacrifice and the service of those who choose to take the risk of having to do that job. Veterans Day is not about the war. Most of you may have expected to hear some kind of war stories and how the things that we do were very difficult in faraway lands. It's not about our politics, because when it comes to the service, politics don't matter, they're out the window. It doesn't matter who's in charge, they're in charge. We serve our country, not politics. It's actually not even about the military. It's not even about the branch that you're in, even though we all have our own pride in the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard. I guess even now the Space Force. It's about the people who choose to serve. It's about the people who wore the uniform. Ordinary Americans, many from southern West Virginia, and very many from right here out of these schools in Boone County. They grew up with a sense of service from their family before them, from a lot of the teachers that were veterans or family members of veterans, that instilled that discipline, honor, and service in us as we came up in school. Every veteran, whether they served in Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, Korea, the Persian Gulf, World War II, most raised their right hand and sworn up to defend the Constitution of the United States. Those means protecting the freedoms of all of us sometimes take for granted. The freedom to speak our mind. The freedom for all of you to chase your dreams. The freedom to disagree with our government. And the freedom to live our life our own way. When we celebrate Veterans Day, we're not celebrating the battles. We're not celebrating a war. We're celebrating the spirit of the service. The idea that freedom is not free, and that someone somewhere either agreed to or they did pay the ultimate cost for that freedom. Going to the day that I decided to serve. Like I said before, I had left Sherman High School, went out into the world. I was working at CAMC, Memorial Division down in Canal City. I was in the hiring process from Charleston Police Department. We walked by a waiting room, the wall-mounted TV. We just caught a glimpse of it on the news. We saw planes hitting the tower. That was the day that I decided that it wasn't about some kind of an adventure. It wasn't about college money. It was I owed something to the people of my community for me to go do something and to be a part of something much, much bigger. To be a part of a team that was much more than just myself. Like many others at that time, I was very angry and upset. So I made the decision to start my enlistment. We went through basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. If any of you have ever been there, you'll know as well as I do, we never want to go back. We learned discipline, teamwork, and humility. Most of the time, like many of you, we learned those the hard way. We learned to be a team, or else the team failed and we were punished for that failure. We learned humility, and we learned to accept accountability for our mistakes, or the team felt that failure. After a certain point, we learned that it was best to do our small part in that team and to come out winning. They don't care about your popularity in high school, about how you are out in the world. They don't care about your walk of life. What they ask of you is, can you be trusted? Will you show up when things get hard? Will you put in the work when it's needed? Will you be there when you stand and hold the line with your brothers and sisters when it comes down to it? These are the only things that the military is interested in. Shortly after basic training, and shortly is about the time that I step off one plane to get on another, I deployed for Operation Iraqi Freedom. I have watched the movies, I have heard stories, and I have known many veterans growing up, because that's what we have in the community. Nothing could have prepared me for what was about to happen. When I deployed, we landed in Kuwait, because we had not established Iraq. We hadn't got enough of a foothold to land an aircraft full of soldiers in the country. The moment that they opened the door on an aircraft that mine used said Hawaiian tropic vacations down the side of it when they put me into the Middle East. The air was very thick, it was very dusty. The heat was overwhelming, a heat that I had not felt before in my life or even really understood. The smell of JP8 diesel fuel, it filled the air because there was nothing moving but military vehicles and personnel around that aircraft or anywhere that I was going to be for the next several months. It was very odd. We were in a foreign land. But what came next, we knew that our next destination didn't have a city, didn't have a country. It was simply harm's way. And we knew it was coming. We stayed in a sense of high alert. Every sound peculiar to us, regardless of what it was, and it amped us up that much more. It was borderline exhausting to be in that level of alertness for that matter. Shortly after the words of President Bush of "Let's roll," we fired a device across what we now call the breach. We cleared it, and we moved north into Iraq. That was bad enough to think about what we were going to be facing. We lived in a combat zone, that's simple. Working long hours under constant pressure. Some days were consistent of route reconnaissance, route security patrols. Not always eventful. Looking for enemy activity to keep those highways and those thoroughfares clear for our troops to move north toward Baghdad. Other days were absolute chaos. They were confusing, they were terrifying. That became everyday life. I remember specifically the first contact that we had, while it wasn't anything near what we would face later. For me, it was the one. It was in Nasiriyah. We were traveling north. We came under small arms ambush. RPGs were fighting. That was the tactic that we called hit and run. They would attack the convoy and they would run away. We faced no casualties. We didn't lose anything. But it didn't matter. Because to me, that was the real one. That's when I realized, and the rest of my platoon realized, we may not make it out of here. On into deployment, we would encounter things, mortars, rockets, small arms, IEDs, BB IEDs. All of these things became common terminology, common phrases, things that we would talk about that most people hear, wouldn't understand for many months until it finally hit the news. Not only were we attacked on mission, we were attacked in our camps for an operating basis while we attempted to rest, both day and night. If we had the opportunity to call home, it was commonly interrupted by some sort of an attack. And it left our family at home, hearing that in the background, very distraught, confused, and worried. Those moments when we found those IEDs, when we fell under attack, they teach you with courage and what living for others truly is. It's not about being fearless. Every one of us, even you at some point, sooner than later, are going to be scared of something. It's not about fear. It's about being scared. It's about being afraid and being able to get up and do the job anyway. We build friendships and we build bonds stronger than many people will ever understand. Because we saw people who would risk their lives for one another. And be there to help another. When I finally made it home after the first deployment especially, I thought everything would just go back to normal. I would go back to my normal life. Everything was just how I left it, but it was not. I found out, like many who have deployed or have mobilized in support of operations, that we bring back things with us that we have to endure. What was harder than that was to realize I came home to a life that continued to move forward. They had lived their life without me. So I had to adjust to that new life. You leave one world, a world that dominated your senses and put you in a constant state of alert, to come back to another that just kept trucking right along without missing a beat. What can you learn from a veteran? First thing that you can learn is resilience. Life's not always going to be easy. You're going to fail. It's going to happen. You're going to face challenges that you don't believe that you can overcome. But veterans know that strength is not about avoiding the conflict or the hardship. It's about facing it and growing from it, engaging that target and moving forward. The second thing is teamwork. In Iraq, none of us survived alone. Every mission was a success because we would trust each other. We brought our crew, our team, back because of the actions of the one to our left and to our right. So in your life, surround yourself with good people. But be that someone that those others can count on. The third thing is gratitude. When you've been in a place where something as simple as water has been rationed, where every sunrise could very well be your last, you learn to appreciate those. Quiet, simple mornings, a meal with friends, simple laugh with family. But this holiday is sometimes deemed the inappropriate holiday. I never miss an opportunity to use Veterans Day like most other days to honor all who served, but also those who never made it home. I had friends that didn't make it home. Their names will forever be etched in my memories, and their names are etched on memorials across this country. Young men and young women who gave everything simply for that person to their left and to their right. When I think about them, I think about how they would want us to live. I believe they would want us to live with purpose. They would want us all to live with compassion. I think that they would look down and want us to live and appreciate the life that they helped protect, leaving us here. If you get the chance, I implore you to visit a veteran cemetery. We have multiple throughout the country. We have several in the state. Take a moment to go read the names and the ages of those headstones. Most of them you will find are not much older than you. What is it that you can do? You don't need a uniform to serve. I'm not a recruiter. I'm not going to promise you money or anything else to jump up and go join the military. But you can serve by being a good citizen, by helping others and volunteering in your community. Be the kind of person who lifts others up instead of tearing them down. If you know a veteran, a neighbor, a teacher, a principal, a custodian, or even one of your own family members, take a moment to thank them. But more importantly, listen to them. Ask them about their stories. Some don't tell their stories, but still be there to listen. You'll learn more about life, courage, and sacrifice in those few moments speaking with a veteran than you will from most books. And always remember this, the freedoms that you enjoy, they were paid for by people who believed that you were worth it. When I joined, many of you didn't exist. But I knew that people would exist, that you would exist. And even then, I, like many of the others sitting here today, we believe that you were worth it. Don't waste it. When given the chance, get out, get on your feet, and start moving forward. As I stand here with you, I am proud. Not because of some of the things that I did, because like many others here, there's a long list of failures and mishaps. But I'm simply proud because I have the privilege to serve alongside some of the best people this country has ever produced. Like those that stood earlier. I didn't serve with any of them that I can think of, but I am very proud to know that I was in the service of these folks who were in the service of others. It's not just about a date on the calendar or a day that you get to miss school or sleep in. I know that's probably the most exciting part for most of you, because we sat there. I was in your seat one day. It's a reminder to live with gratitude, to serve with integrity, and to never take for granted the blessings that we have as Americans. To all of my fellow veterans, thank you again for your service, all of your sacrifices, the sacrifices of your families. To all of you, the students here at Sherman High School and Sherman Junior High School, thank you for listening, for having us here today, for learning, and hopefully for carrying forward the values that make this country worth defending. May you always remember that freedom has a heartbeat, and it beats in the hearts of those who serve. I appreciate the time that you have given me. I hope I didn't mess it up horribly. And I wish you the best for the rest of your day. And thank you again for having us here to be with you today.
Thank you, Brayden. The 7th and 8th grade band students will now provide a musical rendition of Yankee Doodle. salute to the services. This is to honor those having served or are currently serving in the armed forces. Would you please stand when your branch of the military is recognized?
The United States Army. The United States Navy. The United States Marine Corps. The United States Air Force.
Let's give a round of applause to the band for providing us with beautiful music tonight. Next, two students from Sherman High School, Sophia Rollo, a senior, and Savannah Drake, also a senior, will share with us a reading entitled A Veterans Day Tribute.
If someone has done military service, they earn the title veteran and more. They earn our deep respect and admiration that they are special, no one can ignore it. They sacrifice the comforts we enjoy, the list is long of all the things they gave. Our veterans are extraordinary people, they're loyal, dedicated, true, and brave. When terror and invasion were real threats, they showed us that they can handle any storm. We owe our freedoms and our very lives to our veterans who serve in uniform.
Our veterans should be celebrities. They're exceptional, no other group compares. We're grateful for the many things they've done. They're always in our hearts and prayers. We owe our veterans support and friendship. Let no one ever question what they're worth. These men and women served us in our country, our veterans, the very best on earth. Thank you, Sophia and Savannah. Tyson Rogers, an 8th grader from Sherman Junior High School, will present a poem entitled, We Honor All.
On Veterans Day, we honor all who answered to a service call. Soldiers young and soldiers old fought for freedom brave and bold. Some have lived while others have died, and all of them deserve our pride. We're proud of all the soldiers who kept thanking guns red, white, and blue. They fought for us and all our rights. They fought through many days and nights. And though we may not know each name, we thank all veterans the same.
Thank you, Tyson. We would like to recognize those in attendance for their military service. Would you please stand and give your name and branch of service? Will you please stand?
Patty Miller, U.S. Army.
Brandon Miller, U.S. Army.
Stan Stewart, Army National Guard.
Mo Samuel, U.S. Army.
David Polly, Air Force.
Danny Bennett, United States Army. I proudly served my country from 1968 to 1971. And what I'm most proud of is that Valerie Halstead is my daughter.
Sergeant Harlan Nuclear Farrell, U.S. Army.
Harrison Jackson, U.S. Army, Vietnam.
Charlie Mullins, U.S. Army, 66 veterans from my time in Germany.
Walter Sharps, Army, 1967 to 1970.
Jim Hodges, U.S. Army. David Price, U.S. Army.
Jean Hay Halstead Garrison, United States Marine Corps.
Tom Barnett, West Virginia Army National Guard.
Thank you all for your service and for your attendance today. Brandon Cavender, a senior from Sherman High School, will read a poem by Ron Trampner entitled The Cost of Freedom.
He died serving our country in a land far away. He gave his life for freedom. They buried him today. He loved family more than life and had to do what's right. To protect them and his country, he joined in the fight. Next time you see a soldier, don't just pass him by. Thank him for his service. He might be next to die. How great the cost of freedom. How brave those who defend. Protect them, Lord, that they may safely come back home again.
Thank you, Brandon. In Flanders Fields by Colonel John McCrae is perhaps the most recognized poem regarding fallen soldiers. McCrae was inspired to write the poem after presiding over the funeral of a fellow soldier and friend. This poem, as well as the red poppies that grew over the graves of fallen soldiers, have become the world's most recognized memorial symbols of soldiers who have died in conflict. Lucas Cox and Luke Steele, students from Sherman Junior High School and Sherman High School, will provide a reading of this famous poem.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the lark still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt gone, saw sunlight glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders field.
Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if we break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you, Lucas and Luke. Please stand for the playing of taps by Alec Hunt, Assistant Principal of Sherman High School. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. On a personal note, I would like to share an excerpt from the book Korean War Heroes by Edward Murphy. The paratroopers of the 187th Airborne Regiment fought alongside the Marines on the road to Inji. Near Wangtong at 2 a.m. on May 31st, the enemy counterattacked the sector held by Company G Grimley. Waiting in their path was Rodolfo P. Hernandez, a 20-year-old from Fowler, California, and his foxhole buddy, Carl M. Hamrick. When they sighted the North Koreans on this moonless night, the pair opened fire with their bars. Within minutes, both men were wounded by enemy fire. GIs on either side of the two pulled back, but Hernandez and Hamrick continued fighting. Hernandez's rifle jammed with a ruptured cartridge. Without a word, he jumped out of the fighting hole and, armed only with grenades, plunged headlong into the charging enemy. Hamrick pulled back to a nearby position where he continued fighting until the North Koreans pulled back at dawn. Hamrick found Hernandez at daybreak the next morning. Severely wounded, he lay about 25 yards in front of their hole, head to head with an enemy soldier. Around him lay 6 more dead North Koreans, killed by grenade explosions or Hernandez's bayonet. According to Hamrick, Hernandez stopped the attack with his courageous actions. Although Hernandez survived his severe wounds to wear his Medal of Honor, they left him permanently disabled. After this battle, Rodolfo Hernandez won the Medal of Honor and Carl Hamrick won the Silver Star. I would like to close with a quote from President John F. Kennedy. He said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." We appreciate your time in honoring our veterans through this program. Closing remarks will be presented by Ms. Allison Abbott, Vice Principal of Sherman Junior High School.
As we conclude today's program, I would first like to take the opportunity to thank all of the students and staff who worked so diligently to make this such a wonderful occasion. Let's all give them another big round of applause. The word freedom is defined as the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants, without hindrance or restraint. Thanks to the men and women sitting before us today, to those who have served in the past, and to those that will serve in the future, we are able to do just those things. Let us never take that ability for granted and purposely live each day with gratitude, forever thankful for the sacrifices made on our behalf. We would like to invite our veterans to dismiss to the gym lobby and also join the high school students for lunch in the cafeteria so that students can greet and thank you on their way out. We thank each of you again so very much for your service and for attending today's program. Thank you.
Okay, veterans, if you would please, we're going to ask as many as are willing and able, if you would just go up to the gym lobby. I'm sure our students would like to say thank you. So our veterans would be dismissed first. High school students, in Sherman Junior High, completely fulfilled my expectations. What a great audience you were today. High school students, we ran a little bit into our lunch, but we're gonna make sure you get the full time, and we'll be going into fifth period a little bit. I'm sure that breaks your hearts completely. That fifth period will be shortened today, so you get your lunch period. Also, high school students and teachers, Monday during our lunch period at Advisor Advisee, I think I will have a special surprise for you. You are such a great audience. So, as our veterans go out, give them just a second. So again, we are going to have Advisor Advisee today. We're going to have lunch as normal. So I'm going to ask at this time, high school students, you're dismissed to either Advisor Advisee or to lunch. Thank you all so much for coming. Junior high, you'll be dismissed in a few minutes. Thank you for your patience. There is vocational this afternoon, so if you're a vocational student, eat lunch and get on the bus. You'll be coming back a little early for the pep rally. Thank you.